Well, hello and welcome to episode number 390 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. Carlos here, and in this week's show, one airline goes all plastic, one airport introduces some lovely chargers, and someone finds an engine for Trumps 757. In the military, Wily Coyote hits the streets. What did I say? Willy Coyote hits the streets. And he's armed this time. And we have Thunderbolts and Elephants and lots of airplanes to protect the G20 World Leader Summit. So, joining me across the village here in the lovely, glorious county of Suffolk, where it is currently 7 degrees Celsius, it is, of course, Matt Smith.
Honestly, we've been on air like 2 minutes and you already said the word Willy. What's the matter with you?
Well, it's Wily Coyote. It looks like
Is it? It is Wily Coyote. It's absolutely Wily Coyote. I don't know why you changed it. Honestly. Never mind.
Anyway, how is Mr. Smith this week?
You guys can get away with anything up there.
That's
changing
true,
our childhood cartoon names. That's fine. Just because you Brits had it first.
Meep, meep. Yeah.
You had everything first.
Indeed, yeah. We're going to have to ask you to turn you up again because it's not switching. You're so quiet, Armando. It's not switching to you now.
Oh, bless me, so quiet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, my word.
Oh, hello. Oh, that'll do. Yeah, lovely. Okay.
Anyway, Mr.
Matt,
Smith,
how are you?
Yes. Having a nervous breakdown currently. I don't know what anyone else is doing. But hey, you know, it's a standard Friday night, really, isn't it?
I like your background this evening, Matt.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Jonathan Warner has given me. This is a Jonathan Warner picture. I only ever have Jonathan Warner pictures on my. Should we like start again? What could possibly go wrong?
That's a nice picture. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll try and have a go at the pronunciation of whatever it is, unless Armando's able to identify it.
Is that a S2?
Yeah, why not?
That's what it looks like.
Yeah,
he's already spoken anyway, but we'll introduce him anyway because we have to as part of the show. Introducing as well this week, another glorious member of the team is, of course, the fantastic Armando.
Oh, I thought you were talking about John. John is here too, by the way, everybody. Welcome, John. He is a glorious, fantastic member of the team.
Yes, he is our fabulous producer. Yes.
He is the conductor that keeps this train on the tracks.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. He's doing really, really well at the moment. Yeah.
It's good to be back, as usual. Always happy to be here live.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So what's been going on in the world of Armando this week?
Oh my gosh, lots of flying. Been flying all over the place. They completed all my check rides, so I'm PIC in our charter operation, and like everybody else, we had when I started flying with these guys about 3 months ago, we had 3 captains and 3 first officers. We are down to I am the only captain. And 1 first officer because. One went to Delta, one's going to PSA, one is going to a medical transport company. So pilot hiring right now is so intense that people are shuffling around and some of us that are just pretty happy doing the charter business are kind of being left out in the cold because everybody's moving out. So
I mean,
basically I'm flying like 18 days a month.
Wow.
Which is
okay. I mean, but when you think, obviously, what the industry's been through the last sort of like 18 months, you know, coming up on 2 years very soon. I mean, that must, in some respects, be a relief almost that that there's now more jobs than pilots, which I guess is the problem we had like before this all started. I mean, I remember having conversations about pilot shortages like long before COVID happened.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It is a great thing. I'm certainly not complaining. It's more flight time for me, and it's great opportunity for everyone that has been waiting, that had to almost put their career plans on pause for the year.
Yeah.
Much like everybody else had to put their life on pause for a year. But it's a sign. It's a good sign in the industry. Business aviation, as we continue to say, is booming, as is commercial aviation and cargo. Really, honestly, cargo is doing really well too. So everybody is doing well. And this is a good problem to have because all those kids that were in flight schools and essentially had paid, up to $80,000 for flight training and everything, had to wonder, well, should I go work in another industry during COVID? So anyway, it's
indeed,
it's a good sign.
Indeed.
So we are missing Nev this week, as you probably see. Nev's away this week, and I think he's on his way travelling back. So he should be hopefully back in the good old UK soon. So hopefully he'll have some great passenger experience tales to tell us next week.
Hopefully not similar to the experiences you had at Stansted coming back from Malta.
I hope not as well. And I did notice this week, Matt, actually, in our local rag here in our Suffolk, there's a big piece this week about exactly the same thing happening again at Stansted.
Oh,
okay. And people were going mental.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
So that hopefully he'll be back next week with us, and we'll look forward to hearing from Nev about his travels, because he's been a few miles.
He's been a traveling.
Yeah. Well, it's the beginning of the month, and as we always do at the beginning of each month, it's time to thank some incredibly special and fabulous and marvelous people who help to keep us moving along the rails. So, Armando, who are we thanking this month?
Yeah, I can't thank these people enough. I always say it, and now that we're doing these excess baggage segments for our Patreon supporters, now hopefully we get to hear more from them, and it's kind of your chance to shape the content of the show. But I'd like to thank Dirk S., Sasha Beer, Stephen Ivy. Oh, Stephen Ivy. We love that guy. Nicholas Codling, Warren Dixon, Luis Caceres, fellow Puerto Rican, Andrew Vandersog, Alan White, Stephen Howland, Tanya Wyman, Megan Carrion. Who's that? Wait a minute.
Never heard of her.
I was wondering what that draft from the bank account was. Jacob Darlington Brown.
Up it, mate. Up it. See if he notices. So
I would notice. She does the finances in the house.
Fair enough. Yeah.
The lovely Masha. Owen Shimizuzu.
No, never heard
who
of
that
him.
guy is.
Yeah,
right?
he's a bit special, isn't he? Yeah.
Ruben Wells. Been a while since we heard from him. Neil Lanwarn. Graham Haley. Been a while since we've heard from him.
Yeah, that's true.
Jonathan Warner, the official PTUK photographer.
Yeah,
Eric Graves.
Never heard of him again, no.
Yeah. Matt Caton, Jordan Rose, Andrew Wilson. Who's this Captain Jeff guy? Actually, just kidding. I'll see him in a couple weeks.
Oh, really?
Adam Spink, the lovely Liz Piper, Jeff Ward, Mila, who always sends these beautiful Christmas cards. I don't know if you guys know that.
Yeah.
Or maybe you guys don't get them and I do.
No. We get them. Calm down.
Evan Shu, Philip Labby, Stuart Becker, Ray Williams, and of course we're going to hear from her a little bit later in the show, Stephanie Plummer. And some traditional PayPal donators, Tony Stubbings, Jennifer Parkinson, Craig Yorosku, and Mazuz Karim, who is always in the chat room just keeping us.
As is Jenny. Jenny's just joined us actually as well, hasn't she? So
oh, hi Jenny.
Yeah.
And Jacob and Nick and Micah and Nev.
And Nev. I know Nev.
What? Oh,
no,
boy.
Nev's only there to make sure we started on time. That's the only reason he's there.
Goodness.
I
That
know.
guy shouldn't be. He shouldn't be in the chat room.
Why is he watching us when he's on holiday? Nev, go away.
Cut the cord, Nev.
Unplug, Nev. Unplug.
Who would do this while they're on holiday?
You.
Honestly?
Anyway, thanks to all our Patreon and PayPal donators. You guys are awesome. And again, please send in some feedback as to what you want to hear in those excess baggage segments. So
there are some good ones to come actually. So
yes, I've got some to we'll have a chat about after that, because we've got a handful to send of the week while we were all off. We've got some stuff to send in, haven't we? So we'll get that
Speaking of cutting the cord, we all had a week off, and what did we do? We recorded segments.
Yes, all right. Yeah, okay, all right. Maybe we shouldn't be quite so mean to Nev then as a result.
Anyway, on the note of chat room, big hello to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Going to run through the family members quickly. Richard Adams, Lee Davies, GB's Model Zone, Nick Codling, Mazuz Karim, hello to you. Richard Adams, I've done Richard. Jacob Darlington Brown, morning. Blimey, it must be like 6 in the
6 a.m. or something
other.
like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Sturman, hello to you, Sturman. Not long ago I saw you actually.
Yeah.
This afternoon. My man Micah, Uncle Micah, Dirk S, Jan Hubner. Hello to you, Jan. Hope you are well. John Clarder's also in there. It's nice to see John in there. Wielding the blue spanner of doom.
Of course, yes.
And Jenny, Aussie Jenny over in Rome. Hope it's warmer there where you are, Jenny, because it's freezing here. Katie Brame, hello to you, Katie.
Yeah, she's
hello.
keeping an eye on us, making sure that those park radio people are behaving themselves.
I know. Yeah. So if you are listening to the audio version of the show and you haven't already seen what an absolute glorious Technicolor dream the live show is, take yourselves over to YouTube and look for us, Plain Talking UK. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, which is right next door, to be notified when we are live and recording lovely new episodes like we are now.
Well,
because we would love to have you in the chat room.
Oh,
yes.
Carlos, actually, while I remember, Katie needs a crash course in flight radar 24. All right.
Oh,
She needs to do some plane stalking.
Okay, Katie.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Let me know, Katie. Give us a call. We'll sort that out for you. Don't worry.
Very good.
Panic.
Excellent.
Right. So, guys and guys.
Stewie Thomas. Do we know Stewie Thomas? Hello, Stewie
Thomas. Oh, hello, Stewie.
Cool.
Who's Stewie? Where's Stewie from?
Every time I see the word Stewie, I immediately think Family Guy. I can't.
Oh, no.
Okay, I'm being told off. I'm too quiet, apparently.
He's too quiet. You're...
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Anyway, we have got some great news to get through this week and some military news. And also we have got a segment to play. And as Armando said earlier, we have got a little piece from Steph.
We have, yeah,
Steph,
absolutely.
Awesome. So if everyone's ready to do some commercial news.
What have you been drinking? Seriously.
I love that he just said we have some great stories and then some military.
I know, isn't that lovely?
I did not mean it like that.
You absolutely did. What a rat bag you are. Yeah.
Nev is channeling his inner
grey stuff. Yes, absolutely. And it's like Captain Al's here trying to do us out of the military already. Anyway, shall we do some?
Let's do some commercial news, everyone. Everyone ready?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Kicking off this week's first news story from the Washington Post and IATA.org. And I know everyone's on about this going greeny kind of thing and the all save the planet and this thing that's going on wherever it is in Glasgow, is it somewhere? And I should turn my phone on.
You
silent
should,
as well.
absolutely, yes.
Who just text a group chat? That was one of you guys' fault.
Yeah, it was.
Armando's fault.
If you remember, like what we do, Carlos, is we use that to communicate with each other during the show, so that we don't draw attention to anything stupid that might be going on in the background. But if you want to,
anyway,
if you want to highlight it, go nuts.
This thing that's going on in Glasgow. Is it
Armando's gone to take a phone call. I didn't know if anybody was
Glasgow. So my beer actually this week comes from Glasgow.
Okay, right.
And the story is this week: Alaska Airlines is getting rid of plastic bottles and cups for water. So in an effort to curb in-flight waste, Alaska Airlines is getting rid of single-use plastic bottles and cups for water beginning on Thursday. Instead of plastic bottles, the airline will use boxed water, which is better, apparently. The brand that uses 92% plant-based cartons. Wow, I hope they're not as good as those straws that McDonald's use. Anyway, for now, Alaska Airlines will continue using plastic cups to serve other beverages, such as soda and alcohol. In 2019, Alaska Airlines, which is the 5th largest U.S. carrier, started looking at what single-use items on board had the biggest environmental impact. By and large, plastic bottles were the worst contributor of waste, said Todd Trainer, Corey Managing Director and Guest Products for the airline. And even though a big percentage of them are recycled, many of them did end up inevitably in landfills or in the ocean. Conversations around plastics were accelerated when Alaska started giving passengers individual bottles of water in lieu of its normal refreshment service during the pandemic. Trainer Corey said the change will remove an estimated 22 million plastic cups and 32 million plastic bottles, or around 1.8 million pounds of single-use plastics from flights through 2022. To put that figure in perspective, that's the equivalent to the weight of 18 Boeing 737s.
Wow.
Alaska Airlines moves comes after other green initiatives from the company, like having passengers pre-order fresh food items before their flights to reduce waste. According to IATA, a study into cabin waste was conducted in 2012 and 2013. A typical passenger generates 1.43 kilos of cabin waste across both short and long-haul international flights, of which 23% was untouched food. How could you? I always eat all my food. And drink, and a further 17% comprises of recyclable materials, e.g. plastics and newspapers. Commercial airlines account for over 5.5 million tons of waste every year, the majority of which ends up in landfill or incinerators. Hello, thank you. Sorry there. A little bit of cough there. Before the pandemic, this was projected to grow to 10 million tons per year by 2030. Well, they're doing well here. It's obviously a move that I think all the airlines should move towards. Although these boxed waters, I mean, I'll be interested to see. They must have a kind of a wax coating on the inside.
Well, no, they're exactly the same as the milk and juice cartons that we've been using for years. They don't. I mean, it makes perfect. I'm surprised we haven't gone down that route before. And the only reason I can think of is maybe that the plastic bottles at the moment are cheaper to produce. So perhaps that's the issue. Maybe they need to sort of look into making the paper ones more cost effective, perhaps then, because I mean we're used to having orange juice cartons in cardboard collapsible containers. So I mean absolutely, I think it makes sense. Neil Lamorne apparently in the chat room has a solution, which
Captain
is
Al generates more than that.
No, that's not the one. It's I don't know. It hasn't come up on my end for some
cabin
reason.
crew will walk around with a hose.
Right. I mean, that is an option. Yeah.
I mean,
right.
It would be good for crowd control, I suppose. When
True.
Kick off.
Yeah. It could be the new solution to the Jet 2 fighting, couldn't it?
or if you remove the carpets from the aircraft, it would be an easy way of just cleaning the aircraft. Just pressure wash.
Right, just sort of pressure wash it down. Right, okay. So Alaskan could be greener still by only serving alcohol, skipping water entirely. That's Richard Adams' suggestion. I like it. It's definitely the right one there.
Actually, on this note about this recycling thing, I will say one thing for Jet 2. When they collected the waste before we arrived at Malta, they do actually collect the plastic bottles and all the other bits of plastics and stuff in a separate bag to the general kind of food waste bag. So,
actually, genuinely, Dirk's question here, we'll have to ask our cabin crew friend this one, but it says I bet they can fit more of those in carts because they're cube shaped. I wonder if that genuinely has a. Yeah, because you haven't got does it really make that much difference? I'd be intrigued. I suppose you could stack them better. That's the only thing I can think of.
And they probably won't fall over as easy if they're on your tray table.
True, that is true, because they've got a flat bottom, haven't they? Yes. Main man Micah is saying the plastic bottles are recycled into fleece and carpet. Nice. Nice. I like it.
Fiji water is also a cube-shaped plastic. Oh.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay.
Matt, your next story is a nice techie one just for you.
Right, okay, good. I mean, you say that in you say that in the loosest possible term, I suppose. The headline is Ryanair introduces digital travel assistant and self-service hub. This is on futuretravelexperience.com is the website. And Ryanair has launched a suite of digital enhancements to further improve customer service and provide easy access to flight information. Among the initiatives are new day of travel app assistance, the digital self-service hub, and My Ryanair wallet. Using the new Day of Travel app, customers will be able to get live updates and notifications about the airport, terminal and gate information. Passengers will receive live videos and webcasts from Ryanair's operations centre during major disruptions. The app also provides easy access to boarding passes, certificates and other travel documents. Customers will be able to use the new digital self-service hub to change flights, update passenger info add bags, seats, and other services. The airline has improved its chat function to allow passengers to manage every aspect of their booking without calling the customer service team. The My Ryanair wallet gives customers quick access to book flights using their wallet balance and provides real-time status updates on refunds. Ryanair's Director of Marketing, Dara Brady, said, "We are pleased to launch these innovative customer improvements, which will enhance the travel experience of our guests. For customers who need extra assistance, they can now track their interactions with Ryanair across calls, email, chat, social, and receive live status updates online. In rare cases of cancellations, customers who request a refund can now get confirmation and access to it within 24 hours in My Ryanair, and will be refunded to the original form of payment within 5 working days. Our first ever customer panel meeting in September was instrumental in driving these service improvements, and we look forward to receiving further panel feedback at our second meeting in early 2022 to help us develop more ways to improve our customer experience while we lower airfares post-COVID-19 and grow to carry 225 million passengers per annum." Now we've got how much will it cost you, Thomas is suggesting, which is probably a good point. Now it's basically sort of, it's a sort of an app version of. So apparently this is an ad that we're playing here. Am I playing this with sound, John? Okay, right, here we go then. Let's have a quick look at the ad.
Introducing Ryanair's new customer improvements. Thanks to feedback from our customers, we're launching new customer initiatives to make flying with us as simple as possible. Manage your trip through our new digital self-service hub, where you can change your flight and passenger names, update contact information, or add bags and seats. And with our improved chat, FAQs, and how-to videos, you can now manage every aspect of your booking online without the need to contact our customer service team. But if you do need to contact us, whether by phone, chat, social, or email, our digital self-service hub will track the history of your interactions with the latest status updates. When it's time to fly, our new Day of Travel Assistant on the Ryanair app will make your journey through the airport easier. Receive live updates 48 hours from departure relating to your terminal, gate, and flight, all straight to your phone. And for major disruptions that happen from time to time, you'll now get updates through in-app videos live from our operations centre to keep you informed on what we're doing to minimise your delay. In the event of a cancellation, refund requests will be processed within 24 hours to your new My Ryanair wallet, allowing you to conveniently book new flights, or in one simple click, withdraw your refund to the original form of payment, which we will process in 5 working days. These are just some of the ways we're making flying with Ryanair even better. For the lowest fares, on-time flights, lowest emissions, and now even better customer service, fly Ryanair, Europe's #1 airline.
Right.
Now, why do I feel like this already exists? But anyway, go on, carry on.
We're going to go to the chat room immediately for a comment from Mr. Bounds.
Oh, goodness help
who
us.
says passengers who need extra assistance will be given a BA ticket.
Oh, wow. Okay. I guess we shouldn't be surprised by that particular comment, but it's just, I don't know. Haven't EasyJet got something like this already?
It's an improvement on the current app they had. I mean, this is an improvement on the app they had before.
Well, the app they had before was really only for buying tickets, wasn't it? I mean, although to be fair, you did have the QR code and everything for the flight in the app, didn't you? But
two things.
Yeah,
right?
Go on.
How easy is it going to be to chat to an actual human being through the app, as in a call center person? And secondly, how good or how responsive and quick is the chat function going to be? You know, the actual message chat function.
One of the advantages about a chat function is one person can be handling 2 or 3 chats at any one time. So I suppose you could argue there is a cost saving here, perhaps.
Or staff. staff saving.
Although I do like the idea. I mean, as for the company that I work for, all of your communications that you have with the company end up on the account, if you see what I mean. So, and that's and regardless of whether you've emailed in, whether you've been in, whether you've phoned in, or whether you've used like the in-app functions or used social media or anything like that, it's all in one place. So actually, certainly from a somebody who's trying to sort out a problem, that's a really useful function. I'm part of me surprised that something like this didn't already exist.
Jenny in Rome is pulling them up on their grammar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. FAQ or FAQs.
Yes.
Why the apostrophe?
Okay, right. Fair enough.
Nicely spotted, says Nev.
Yes, well quiet, yes. Nev will be all over that. Yeah. I'm trying to think. There's...
I think each all the major American airlines are already have some version of this. I know, I fly 90% on American, and the American app tells me everything I need to know. It advises me of changes, seat changes, equipment changes, delays, gate changes. If my flight gets delayed, I can rebook a flight right through the app, and it prompts me to do so. I would call it a digital personal assistant or travel assistant. Additionally, when they're asking for volunteers, because a flight is oversold, it'll send you a little thing on your app that says, "Hey, would you like to volunteer? How much would you like to volunteer for?" It's like a bidding system. You can select, I'll move for $100 or $400, or I want to wait for the the big money maker at $1,000 or something like that. And I think it only helps expedite the whole process. I am also surprised that Ryanair didn't have something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm being very cynical. I think it's a way of saving money. I think that's what their big mandate for this is. If I'm honest, I don't think it is mainly for the benefit of the customer. And also, GB Model Zone is saying, because I think this will be a way of lowering the headcount in the customer service centre. If I'm honest, and GB Model Zone has a very good point there, saying the app's no good to him, because I think basically from his comment he's got a Nokia 3310, I think, which is got no internet and can't download
Adams
an app, which is a good point. But
makes a good point as well. He says chats are normally run by bots rather than humans these days.
I'm going to dispute that slightly, because you can.
Richard Adams, he's disputing you.
No. The only, I mean, usually it's a glorified sort of. No, we're not starting a fight. John's saying, "Am I starting a fight?" No, I'm not starting a fight. Yeah. Oh no. Okay. Right.
Well, before we continue on this fight, producer John also had a really good point, that something that we don't have here, or not as much as we don't have to deal with as many languages and nationalities as you guys do over here. So Ryanair customers, you would have to produce that app and produce all the messages in their preferred languages without language mixes.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That is a very good point.
And Nick, just to finish this, Nick comes up with the best comment ever. On the plus side, the 3310 hasn't been charged since May.
Right.
Because if you remember, those phones used to go on for months.
Well, a week anyway. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what the hell were you doing with yours?
I used to send text messages. I
actually have a quick request that we do story 4 and then come back to story 3.
Okay.
Just because of timing.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and take story 4. This is from CNBC.com, at least the story that we are talking about. But this was very public here in the U.S. American Airlines, as of yesterday, was reducing flight cancellations, but staffing challenges continue to disrupt travel. So American Airlines this last Monday canceled more than 460 flights, or 16% of its mainline schedule, as the carrier scrambled to stabilize its operation after reporting staffing shortages that led to travel disruptions for tens of thousands of people over the weekend. Fort Worth-based Airline canceled more than 2,300 mainline flights since Friday. So I think this was happening while we were on the show. And Friday I was flying, and we were getting tons of phone calls of people stranded in Charlotte, North Carolina, trying to get to their destination.
Wow.
Yeah, and Saturday was no better. I think it actually got worse. But American Airlines ended up blaming high winds on Thursday and shortfall of crews. So just like we talked about with Southwest Airlines a couple weeks ago, it was just this amalgamation of just complete Swiss cheese where all the holes lined up and it just disrupted the entire system. But on Sunday alone, they canceled more than 1,000 flights. That's about 30% of American's operation. That's all those numbers are according to FlightAware. This affected at least 136,000 customers. That's according to a company document, which was viewed by CNBC. So most of the cancellations, the American Airlines says was a lack of available crew. The union that represents Americans flight attendants said over the weekend that it received an alarming number of cabin crew assignments that go beyond the monthly maximums, and that's, those are federal air regulations, so you can't really get around that too much. The Association of Professional Flight Attendants said in a note that the fact that there is inadequate staffing to cover the operation as it is currently structured is not the fault of the flight attendants. The airline didn't provide any additional comments. The Tuesday schedule appeared to be closer to normal with just 28 flights canceled. Americans obviously is just the latest in the major disruptions to hit air travelers in the last few months as these airlines are struggling to cater to this growing travel demand that we were talking about at the beginning of the show. And they're urging thousands of workers to take buyouts or leave of absences during the pandemic last year, and now we've resulted in staffing shortages. So, man, we're just on a roller coaster, aren't we? Southwest Airlines, I think at the end of the day, it ended up costing them about $75 million. And as a result of their meltdown a couple weeks ago, they ended up cutting the 2021 schedule for a second time so it can avoid certain strains, which we did talk about on the show. It highlighted some weaknesses in the Southwest Airlines point-to-point system as opposed to everybody else's hub and spoke system. Right. There you go. So if you were flying American this last weekend, hopefully you got a chance to catch up on all your PTUK episodes because you were stranded either in Dallas, Chicago, New York, Charlotte,
many different places.
I hope the floor of the DFW Terminal C was comfortable,
warm, heated. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, but
dear.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? It's as we come out of this cocoon, then everybody's trying to figure it out. But as they said, as the union said, it's not the flight crew's fault. This is a management issue. This is. There you go.
Did we see Steph's comment in the chat room there? About to get on an AA flight to JFK. Wish me luck that it doesn't get delayed or cancelled.
Well, according to this, you only have a 1% chance of getting cancelled because the schedule is almost back to normal. Hopefully, that's not the New York.
No, come on. I mean, Steph's like the luckiest human being on planet Earth, isn't she? I mean, it's just like, she won't be that 1%.
Yeah,
they wouldn't
Plus
dare.
When they bazillion miles.
Absolutely. If the flight is cancelled, they'll reinstate it when they realise Steph is trying to get on it. That's what'll happen.
They're trying to use Steph's. They've actually put Steph in a wind tunnel to figure out the aerodynamics of her running,
right?
So they can adjust the newest airplanes that are coming out to be more efficient.
Of course, absolutely.
She can probably run to New York faster than most of these airplanes.
True.
Anyways,
true.
Speaking of Steph,
yes, indeed. Okay, so we're going to be doing story. I think we're doing story.
So the next story then comes to us from mylondon.news, and this one is all regarding those glorious things that we love at airports called drop-off charges. So that's those charges you get just for dropping your gran off to catch a flight to Scarborough for the weekend. So this story goes then this week on Monday, Heathrow Airport introduced a long-anticipated drop-off charge, which the airport commented has been introduced to improve air quality around the airport. The charge has also been linked to attempts by Heathrow to make up for massive losses, around £2 billion, that incurred during the pandemic and reduce travel. Motorists that enter the drop-off zone are required to pay £5 don't know what that is in dollars. Armando will have to look for that one. And have to pay the charge online or via an automated phone service. Failure to pay within a certain time frame could see parking fines slip through their letterboxes. Heathrow is using ANPR, or automatic number plate recognition cameras, to identify the vehicles present in the drop-off zones. The new charge applies to almost everyone, including taxi drivers and private hire cars. There are exemptions to blue badge holders, emergency services, I should hope so, coaches, operational vehicles, and colleague buses. To avoid the charge, you'll have to park in the long stay car park and hop on the airport shuttle service. The charges fell on the same day as all remaining countries were removed from the red list, which sees travel easing once more. The process was delayed initially and was meant to come into place a month ago on October the 1st. So one to bear in mind then, if you are dropping a family member off at London Heathrow, it's probably best that you drop them off in, I don't know, central London and get them to walk in.
Tube it in, yeah.
Tube it in, even so, that's actually not.
Well, £5 doesn't seem too bad, I'll be honest with you, because when I picked up and dropped off Lisa and Lee from Stansted, that was £7.50.
I have a feeling there's a
drop
time
them off.
limit on that, actually.
Oh no, there is no 10 minutes. 10 minutes is the time limit at Stansted. So for £7.50, you have exactly 10 minutes to drop them off.
For £7.50.
For £7.50.
Wow.
So actually, £5 at the arguably the UK's biggest airport, biggest airport, I feel is frankly a steal in comparison to Stansted.
Yes. In the chat room says, improve air quality around the airport. Oh, come on, what a blatant lie.
Well, somebody needs a new car. I think that's probably what's going on there.
Some
MD wants a bonus. I think that's probably what it is.
I just this week looked at parking actually at Heathrow for December just for a week.
Right.
I was quite surprised. It wasn't too bad. Taking Nev's advice to book the pod parking, they call it there at Heathrow, which is really good because it takes you straight to the terminal and stuff. But it was only £100 for a week, which I didn't think was that bad, really.
That is
especially
quite a lot of money, because you also don't take this the wrong way, but you could almost get somebody to take you and drop you off and come back again for that.
It's a lot of hassle though.
You're probably only looking at
the van as well.
But you're only looking at a £40 return each way, so you could pay someone, and you could still bung them £20 for their trouble and have the convenience of being picked up and dropped off right outside the front. I mean, the pod's quite cool. Don't get me wrong.
The pod is cool.
I'm not going to take that away, but it's just, that isn't. I don't think that's the bargain you think it is. If I'm honest, but £100 is an awful lot of money.
Yeah, it's more expensive than actually the car hire was in Malta 2 weeks.
Well,
ago,
there's my point. Yeah, absolutely. There's my whole point.
Oh, but
okay.
So
you'd have to pay me to go to Stansted, Nick says.
Actually, Nick, who said that? Oh, Nick.
Nick Codling, yeah.
Nick, yeah. After my experience a few weeks ago, Nick, it's very, very tarnished. Nick says, you'd have to pay me to go to Stansted. Yeah, I think, I did pay. I paid £7.
Right. And
to skip the
to make your flight. Yeah.
To make my flight, £7 to get past the fast track security, honestly.
Main Man Marker is saying for that price they should also give you a lube oil and filter and a wash the windows as well.
So I'm just reading a chat room.
Right.
Anyway,
okay.
So Matt,
stay on task, Carlos. Come on, focus.
You've got a technical story for your next story, number 6, and 5G. I mean, I was toying on getting a 5G phone, but I didn't in the end.
Mine is a 5G. Mine is a 5G phone, actually, to be fair. So anyway, it's avweb.com is the website. And the headline is FAA to take regulatory action over 5G altimeter interference. So altimeter, sorry. All right. The FAA plans to issue a special airworthiness information bulletin and an airworthiness directive in coming days concerning the rollout of 5G cellular phone service in 46 major metropolitan areas of the US on December the 5th, according to Reuters. The actions are expected to limit the use of automated systems on aircraft that rely on radar altimeters, also called radio altimeters, and it's possible that flight delays and cancellations will result. Reuters also quoted a letter from the FAA Deputy Administrator Bradley Mims that says the agency shares the deep concern about the potential impact to aviation safety resulting in interference to radar performance from 5G network operations in the C-band. In an auction of radio spectrum last year, the major telecoms paid a total of $78 billion in an FCC auction to get access to a thin slice of the finite range of available radio frequencies to carry 5G signals. Those signals will be in the 3.7 and 3.98 gigahertz part of the so-called C-band, which is apparently the sweet spot for carrying the data-heavy 5G signals. Data altimeters operate in the 4.2 to 4.4 gigahertz frequency range, which is their sweet spot, and the fear is that the nearby powerful cell signals will cause interference for the avionics. The FCC approved the use of the spectrum for 5G, saying well-designed radio altimeter equipment should not ordinarily receive any insignificant interference, let alone harmful interference. But aviation groups say that the risk for thousands of aircraft is real, and the FAA seems to agree. The precise nature of the impending rulemaking hasn't been revealed yet, but radar altimeters are fundamental to the operation of instrument landing systems, since they provide the primary altitude information for decision height in Category 2 and Category 3 approaches. They're also the source of altitude data for ground proximity warning systems. The US approach to the 5G rollout differs from that of Canada, which is also concerned about the radar altimeter interference. As we reported earlier, Canadian radio spectrum authorities have placed restrictions on the use of 5G transmitters near major airports to ensure that there is no interference with radio altimeters. Major telecoms in Canada are protesting the move, saying it will keep them from offering the latest wireless services to many businesses and private customers in the heavily industrialized and populated areas around major airports. And of course, that is the reality there, is that, of course, you know, by definition, there's loads of people. There's lots of people at the airport, so you know, of course, everybody's going to want 5G connectivity at these terminals. I've been asked to sync my notes, but it's not working at this end for some reason. But anyway, a brief explanation, an update from thanks to Micah on this one. AT&T and Verizon have agreed to postpone their planned 5G spectrum launch as the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, looks into potential interference with key cockpit safety systems, the Wall Street Journal has reported. AT&T confirmed in a statement that it has agreed to halt its planned 5G rollout until January the 5th at the request of the Department of Transport, the DOT. So a brief summary is of 5G. Basically, it's, long story short, it's on a different radio frequency, essentially, to the 4G network, which obviously we're very, very familiar with. The major advantage about the technology that they're using is the method of compression that they use in there, which means that they can cram an awful lot of data into a very small airspace. That's the long and the short of it. The advantage to us as a consumer is that we can get quite mind-blowing speeds of, say, 500 megabits from your mobile phone, as opposed to like the 100 megabits that's only available. I say only, that is only available from your 4G connection. So it's a much more efficient way of you being able to send large packet data, which is what essentially mobile phones are doing. But there is talk, obviously, of the other advantage with 5G is that you can roll both voice and data all into one with, minimal overheads and all that kind of thing. So it is the route that mobile phone companies will very much want to go down, but because they're going nearing the free, they're trying to go to sort of like the similar, they're trying to, because they're using a different spectrum, obviously there is the risk of it interfering with other services that are already there, like these radar altimeter things that they're talking about. So yeah, we've had the auction. So we've actually got 5G here in the UK at the moment. In fact, when I'm in Norwich, I do get 5G connectivity when I'm at work. And it is mind-blowingly fast. And so our auction took place here a long time ago. And as it said in the article there, as you say, it's an auction where they buy, each mobile phone company buys a band, like a band of frequencies, if you see what I mean. And then they can put their services out on there. Now, there was, here in the UK, talk of there essentially being a blanket 5G service provider that everybody would then use. So you wouldn't, basically what it would mean is one company would be responsible for making sure that everybody could receive 5G services, and then the mobile phone companies would then buy space on to be part of that network. So the mobile phone companies wouldn't be responsible for the keeping up of the towers, as where at the moment each mobile phone company is responsible for each mobile mast that goes up. So there's lots of things that make it very, very appealing to companies wanting to go down that route. Anyway, that's
kids.
Yeah.
While we get Matt to do all the technical stories.
Yeah. Neil Lamward says, anybody got any crickets? Yes, I'm sorry about that. I may have gone on a little bit of a rant. I'm so sorry.
I mean it. I mean it. That's why we get you to do these stories, Matt, because you know what you're bloody talking about. So, it's whenever I see this story, because it's on a lot of the news streams at the minute, but whenever I see this story,
sorry to interrupt. Neil Lamward says, as a postman, I'm a fan of elastic bands.
Oh, I've got 100 of those downstairs, red ones in the drawer.
Right, okay.
All I can think about is that noise you get from the interference. That's all.
You don't anymore, though. You see, not since we moved down the 4G route. You see, you only used to get those noises when we were on like the 2G and 3G networks, and it was mainly phone calls, wasn't it? When it was just the data, when it was just the voice. Is there a time? Is that you knew when you got a text message coming? That's what I used to like about it. You got a warning. Is there an emoji for tumbleweed? Nick says.
Matt,
thanks,
you know this. You know this, Matt. You know when years ago when I started doing the DJing thing, doing gigs, and you bequeathed me a marvelous PA system that I currently use.
Yeah.
And
serving you very well. To be fair. It's nearly 10 years. It's nearly 10 years old. Yeah,
it's an amazing PV setup. Anyway, I always remember one of the first few gigs I'd done, and I had my mobile phone sitting right next to the.
I bet that was loud.
Oh my word!
I bet that was quite loud. Does any private person actually need 5G? I'd be happy with a thorough 4G service here in Germany.
I was going to say, to be fair,
that's a really good point, actually. Yeah,
4G 75 download here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you are more or less, as I say, I think it is possible to stretch it up to about 100 on 4G, but there isn't the amount. Long story short, there isn't the amount of slots available on 4G that there is on 5G. So you can have an awful lot more slots with an awful lot more data throughput. So in short answer to your question, Dirk, no, Mr. Joe Blogs really doesn't need that much data. If you're a company or a network and you want the people who are out on the road being able to sort of. Yeah. Anyway, we're very much getting off the topic of aviation here.
Anyway,
Richard Adams saying some providers in some countries have been caught tweaking the 4G graphic displayed on your phone to say 5G long before any genuine 5G infrastructure has been installed. That is true. But we're glossing over that. Okay, anyway, sorry. We've got off the topic of aviation altogether. Carlos, rescue the situation.
Let's make things all posh and marvellous and wonderful now with this next story that comes to us from aircraftinteriorinternational.com. Specially for Nev, this one, moving on to BA. So Collins Aerospace have won the deal to upgrade BA's 777 Club World suites. This comes to us this week. And they've selected Collins Aerospace to upgrade all of the Club World cabins on its fleet of 777 aircraft. The agreement includes installation of the Club Suite business class seats, the Club Kitchen, and new cabin configuration. The deal will also see Collins perform full cabin integration work, including engineering design, test and approval, along with program management and third-party supplier approvals. Some of the modified aircraft are already flying with the upgrades, expected to be completed by the end of 2022. The retrofitted BA 777s will be operating from London Heathrow. They said that when BA have said that when we launched the Club Suite, it was a huge hit with our customers who loved the privacy and the new seat offers, said Sajida Ismail, BA's head of in-flight products, referring to the suite's privacy doors. She said that we are focused on the rollout of this product and other cabin enhancements. The Club Suite is a customized version of Collins Aerospace Super Diamond business class seat, providing long-haul passengers with privacy doors, a fully lie-flat bed, an upgraded IFE system similar to the upgraded cabins on BA's A350 fleet. The suites are laid out in a 1-to-1 pattern, giving direct aisle access to all passengers, which is very important, I will say. The Club Kitchen is a self-service galley, wow, consisting of inserts. Chillers are built in with storage for snacks, drinks, and other refreshments. The upgraded Club World cabin raises BA's already high standards and provides commonality across the fleet of aircraft, says Trevor Skeely, General Manager of Integration Engineering for Collins Aerospace. He said that our integration engineering team has worked closely with BA designers for several years to bring the latest in business class comfort, style, and privacy from concept to reality. Through its integration of engineering group, Collins Aerospace has organized designation authority from the FAA to oversee the certification and supplemental type certificate for the upgrade. Manufacturing of the new suites is being completed at the company's facility in Kilkeel, Northern Ireland, while the new Club Kitchen was designed at the company's facility in Everett, Washington. And I will say that they do look quite nice.
They are. It looks very comfortable.
Yeah, I love the color as well. They've gone with on these as well. It's nice to have bright colors, but I think it looks very sort of more professional when they've got those kind of darker colors on those suites. So, yeah, hats off to them. It looks quite nice. Shame I couldn't afford to go and fly on business clubbing class.
Yeah,
Blag and upgrade. Upgrade. That's
absolutely.
The way forward.
Yeah, that's why we rely so heavily on Nev, of course, because he has had the. But I mean, I flew back from New Zealand in business class. And that was Malaysian Airways that I did that with, and that was lovely. That was really, really nice. But you see, I could have had a nap, which is what I should have done. But I was so excited about being in business class and wanted to sort of enjoy the experience and enjoy the bigger screens and all that kind of thing that I didn't have the nap that I probably should have done, and then was very tired coming home. But I suppose that serves me right, really, doesn't it?
It's always easy to nap when you have a lie flat bed.
Well, yes, quite. Yes, okay. So, yes.
Armando.
So this has been making its way around social media, and this particular story we're coming back to is a King Air C90 that experienced a stall condition as it was dropping some parachutists in South Africa. But who am I to comment on this? Why don't we just play out the video, and then are we able to play out the video and have Steph's commentary at the same time?
Hey there, PTUK. Dr. Steph from APG here. Armando reached out to me to provide some commentary and context on the King Air skydiving video that was shared widely on social media just the other day, and I'm more than happy to do so. First of all, by way of a disclaimer, I have not flown the King Air personally for jump operations. However, our drop zone used to operate a King Air, and I do have some experience jumping from one. And further, I've had some conversations with our pilots who have flown the King Airs for jump operations. And in particular, I had a chance to read some feedback that one of them gave on this particular incident. So I hope they don't mind me paraphrasing what they had to say about it a bit. Hopefully, as you're hearing this feedback, you've either just seen or heard an explanation of the video in question. This incident occurred in South Africa on October 14th, so just a couple weeks ago. And as the videographer who posted the video said, it was shared with the intent of providing general information and for educational purposes to the aviation community. Hopefully I can add a little bit to that as well. Let's start with a quick recap of the video. We're watching a group of skydivers getting set in the door of the King Air for their jump. As a quick aside, this is something that is actually practiced on the ground before going up in the plane in order to make the exit as smooth and coordinated as possible. And in fact, the entire jump is usually rehearsed, sometimes multiple times, a practice known as dirt diving. In this case, you'll notice that the jump door is immediately aft of the wing. The door itself is not very large, and a fair number of jumpers, 6 in this case, position themselves on the outside of the aircraft, holding on to railings and steps that have been installed around the door for that purpose. In this video, we can see that it takes quite a while for this group of jumpers to position themselves, and a long time. I actually counted 25 seconds. Once the first jumper starts to get into position, that's the videographer, for everyone else to get into position. And then right at the end of that 25 seconds, you can see the aircraft start to pitch up, and then quite quickly, all of the jumpers, and if you pause the video and count, there's 9 total, including the videographer. So in addition to the 6 jumpers outside of the aircraft, there were 3 additional jumpers inside at the rear, also at the rear of the aircraft, ready to exit. And yeah, pretty quickly they're off and out of the plane and into the air, and then you see the aircraft begin a spin and rotation to the left. I counted 2 spins, I think, before the aircraft begins to recover, and then it's another 10 to 15 seconds or so before the aircraft is fully recovered from its stall and spin. So why did this happen? First, some background on flying a jump run. On jump run, our goal is to have the aircraft flying fairly close to straight and level, depending on the flight characteristics of the aircraft. You want to have the speed and relative wind, or essentially the prop blast that the jumpers will feel, at a comfortable and manageable level for the jumpers to actually stage their exits, as usually at least some will be positioned on the outside of the aircraft as everyone in the group gets into position. For multi-engine aircraft, such as the King Air, this means that jump run is typically flown with asymmetrical thrust, so little to no power on the side of the door, the left side in this case, and then enough power on the opposite side, typically the right side, to maintain altitude, attitude, and airspeed. In comparison with the aircraft that I regularly fly for jump operations, and that would be the Twin Otter and the Caravan, it's pretty well known that the King Air has less wiggle room in its CG envelope, and a couple other characteristics that require attention, mainly the low position of the horizontal stabilizer and elevator, causes it to be more susceptible to disruption of airflow over those control surfaces, particularly when there are a number of jumpers standing directly in front of those surfaces blocking that airflow. So when there are basically too many jumpers on the outside of the airplane for too long a period of time, physics takes over, and this degrades the airspeed and the elevator authority to the point where the angle of attack will be exceeded and the aircraft will stall. In this case, the pilot who was flying this aircraft in this incident noted that he actually hit the elevator stop and simply could not push the nose of the aircraft down anymore. The dramatic footage that we've seen shows the result of that subsequent stall and spin. So, as I mentioned, the drop zone where I jump and fly now used to operate a King Air, and those characteristics were actually discussed frequently. As jumpers, we were frequently reminded to limit the number of jumpers outside the aircraft and not to delay in exiting the aircraft. Our chief pilot at the time let us know in no uncertain terms that if he had any concerns, he would increase the power and use the rudder in an effort to shake jumpers off the outside of the aircraft. This does sound a bit dramatic, but it makes a lower risk scenario basically for everybody involved. Thinking about what could have been done differently in this case, well, the pilot shared his perspective, and as I mentioned, I've read through some of the commentary on this video provided by one of our former King Air pilots, and it basically boils down to the following points. 1, fewer jumpers on the aircraft to start. 2, fewer jumpers outside of the aircraft on jump run. 3, the jumpers need to exit quicker. 4, the pilot needed to maintain a more nose-down attitude on jump run in this particular aircraft type with this large group. Needed to add more power on the left side, or the door side. And 6, I think I got my numbers correct there, and use the rudder to effectively encourage, shall we, aircraft as soon as possible if an impending stall is sensed. The incident had a good result. The aircraft recovered from the spin and stall as the pilot did recognize what was happening, and even though he couldn't stop it in that moment, he appropriately applied stall recovery techniques. And furthermore, all the jumpers remained safe. I think the scariest moment of this video for me was seeing how close those jumpers were to the aircraft as it was just barely recovering from the stall. Flying skydivers it's challenging, it's fun, it's rewarding, definitely a different side of aviation, but there are a lot of considerations for us that most pilots don't think about in their day-to-day operations, and this video is just one example. Each jump run is different, and everyone keeps us on our toes. Hope that this helps and provides some insights, and I hope all of you in PTUK land are doing well. Take care, and we'll talk again soon.
Wow, thanks, Steph.
Yeah, I couldn't thank Steph anymore, because as soon as I saw this, I reached out to her and I said, well, you're way more qualified than I am to tell me about what's going on here. For our PTUK listeners that don't know Dr. Steph, she is both a skydiver and a skydive pilot. So she's got a unique viewpoint on this. And while we were watching the video, behind the scenes, we were commenting what an amazing job by the videographer.
Yeah.
But this is a viewpoint that we would have never had in any other kind of aviation other than skydive operations, to watch an airplane like that actually stall and go into a spin. Sometimes we'll have a in-cockpit footage or something like that, or just a personal account, but to be able to see it from that viewpoint was one of the most interesting parts to me. I personally didn't know that in the King Air, that's how they did a jump run, by pulling the engine, the left engine, and using asymmetric. You're susceptible to asymmetric thrust, and you've got the right engine running, and it's. I didn't know. There's Benny. I didn't know that that's how they did jump runs in the King Air. In addition to that, the producer John was saying, he was interested that they briefed this, and that is a thing where they do brief if the airplane you're flying has odd characteristics. We used to do it in the military too, for each type of airplane, whether you're jumping from a C-130, a Casa, a helicopter. There's different considerations for different airplanes, and the King Air having these kind of unfavorable tendencies, they were briefed up on it. But as the videographer said in his statement after the fact, is there's a lot going on, and it was a complicated jump formation that they were doing. So just getting hyper focused and forgetting about the the characteristics of that stall. There you go. So
wow. I mean, to somebody who doesn't know much about this at all, I mean, it is, first of all, the thing that surprised me was the fact that they were grabbing hold of this, they were sort of climbing out and standing on the side of the airplane. I mean, the only jumping that I've ever seen take place has been at Beccles, I'll be honest, out of the Cessna Caravan, where they basically throw themselves out of the door, don't they? There's none of this sort of...
hanging about.
No, literally. It was, it could have been such a very different outcome, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I think I would venture to say that 80% of the jumps that they do out of this aircraft and any other skydive aircraft, people are just, they move and they go out and jump.
Right.
The whole hanging on is they were doing a 20-person formation.
Right.
So they were trying to get
Okay.
as many on the step. Maybe not 20. Steph can correct me on that. You know, it was 15 or something like that. But they were trying to get as many people out on the
aircraft
outside of the
first,
airplane
yeah,
to exit
absolutely.
the aircraft at the same time.
Wow.
But, yeah. Crazy, huh?
Very much so. Very crazy indeed. And again, thanks very much to Steph for filling in the gaps there for us. Brilliant.
And the drop zone, too. They certainly didn't have to publish this.
No, true.
I am incredibly thankful that they did. They put it on social media. They put it out there. The pilot made his comments public. The videographer made his comments public. And they really did put this out there so people learn from it. I certainly learned from it. I learned a lot. Hopefully the listeners are learning a lot. Even in talking to Steph, they talked about this on APG yesterday, and they were, Captain Nick. We all learn something every day in aviation. So I want to appreciate,
Steph said, no,
and
we
the
do.
Drop Zone.
We do 4 stages. We do 4 ways where people stage outside. She was saying in the chat room there. Sometimes even 2 ways with both jumpers outside.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, we do it in the 182 where one person is holding on to the strut.
Yeah, but if one
person
like I say, if one person's standing on the outside of the 152, surely it's sort of tilting over to one side anyway.
Yeah, you're trying to keep it level. But yeah, sometimes you'll end up with 2 on the outside and 2 popping out, and that's the 4 that are in there, and they're going to jump out together. But even that gets a little bit weird. But we don't have an asymmetric thrust.
Anyway, we're a little behind, so we should probably move on to the next story.
Cool, let's do it.
Next story is Flight Global, this one, flightglobal.com, and Emirates starting to dismantle their first A380 with specialists recruited for the job. So Middle Eastern carrier Emirates is to recycle a large proportion of parts from its first A380 following the aircraft's retirement just 14 years after it was delivered. The aircraft Alpha 6 Echo Delta Alpha was delivered to the carrier in July 2008 during a ceremony attended by Flight Global. It flew its last commercial service from Singapore to Dubai in March 2020, just as the pandemic began to cripple global air transport. Serviceable components from the aircraft, including its engines, which are the GP7200 Engine Alliance power plants, landing gear, and flight control systems have been retained. The aircraft was subsequently deregistered and has been handed to Falcon Aircraft Recycling, with which Emirates has signed a contract to reuse as much of the jet structures and components. Emirates says the bar and other cabin features will be converted into bespoke furniture, as well as aviation memorabilia. And retail items are going to be sold in a few months' time, with parts of the proceeds benefiting the carrier's associated charities, Emirates Airline Foundation. All the material recovery will take place in the UAE. Traditional salvage and recycling projects focus on recovering only profitable components, thereby leaving a substantial portion of the aircraft and materials that go into landfill or sit idle for years. Falcon Aircraft Recycling Director Andrew Tonks says the A380 program is the company's most ambitious project, involving the first A380 disassembly outside of Europe. Tonks says around 190 tons of material, including metal, plastics, and carbon fiber, will be removed for repurposing, and recycling. He says the recovery initiative will ensure a majority of the aircraft structure will have a second life, like a tag on my wall here. Our teams are currently busy with the breakdown and final concepts for the first batch of upcycled unique items. The carrier's first A380 carried out 6,319 flights, visiting 62 countries, different airports over its lifetime. Emirates became the primary A380 customer and is preparing to receive its final 380 to be produced following the decision to end the manufacturer's type. Emirates Airline President Tim Clark says, through this initiative, our customers and fans can take home a piece of aviation industry while saving valuable materials from landfill and contributing to a charitable cause. It's an elegant, fitting and retirement solution for this iconic aircraft and our flagship. So just a few notes. It was for just over 14 years old, 14.2 years old. Test registration, Foxtrot Whiskey Sierra Hotel was its test registration. And Alpha 6 Echo Delta Alpha completed 49,632 hours of flying, or 5.66 years, and has a current market value of $30.94 million without the engines.
Wow.
So there we go.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
It's good they're doing this, and I'll have the bar if they want to.
Yes, in fact, actually, Micah has suggested that. He's saying that, in fact, in the chat room here, he's saying that the bar and other parts of the interior furniture will soon be seen at Carlos's home. I think Gemma may have something to say about that.
Yeah, but he will have only paid $12.9 million for it.
No, quite, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've done well to get away with the 777 window. That's
you did,
there,
yeah, absolutely.
so
I still don't know
I
how
think
you got
we'll
away with
stop
that.
at
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we do have a connection down at Pitch Air, so
well, true.
maybe they could get a double decker because the 727 wasn't hard enough.
Anyway, Armando, moving on to the next story before I buy something else. And another iconic aircraft.
Quick!
Oh my gosh! Speaking of big airplanes, this one's from Bloomberg.com. Boeing is poised to deliver its final 747 next October, marking the end of production for the their words, not mine, storied hump-nosed airliner, jetliner.
Bless you.
Introduced air travel to the masses. I don't know that I've ever heard it described that way. Only as a non-aviator could. Anyway, freight and leasing company Atlas Air, which bought the rights to the last 4 747-8s in January. They plan on taking delivery of these final cargo haulers between May and October of next year. That's according to CEO John Dietrich. He said that during an earnings call on Wednesday. He said that the last 747s that Boeing will ever produce, and we're delighted that they're going to be coming to Atlas. Boeing didn't immediately have a comment on the announcement by Atlas, which is actually the world's largest 747 operator. So while Boeing confirmed that it planned to wind down manufacturing of the 4-engine freighter in 2022, the Chicago-based plane maker has provided a few details. The final handovers will conclude more than a half-century of production of the aircraft, nicknamed the Queen of the Skies, for this curved frame that evokes a cruise ship. Is that where it came from? I don't know. The final deliveries raised new questions about the future of their plant in Everett, Washington, which Boeing built to house the 747's final assembly line. And we do have some close friends of the show that fly the Queen of the Skies for a certain, what do we call them? Acme Global, right? Which is a sister airline to Atlas Air. So there you go. But as we always say, I'm sure we're still going to see them in the skies for many, many years to come, despite them not being in production.
It's a shame. I will miss traveling on the 74. Though if you want to get a chance to travel on the 74-8, we can all go and book a flight with Lufthansa, who obviously who use the -8 on commercial routes. So Korean, yeah. John just said
I think
Korean
from a commercial perspective, or from a haulage perspective, I think we'll be seeing them for many years, aren't they? Because they can just handle the weight, can't they? That's the thing.
Very true.
Yeah.
So Matt, you've got the last story, and it's good news for fans of Donald Trump's 757.
Wow, there are fans of Donald Trump. That's fascinating.
I added 757 after that.
757.
Okay, wow. Okay.
Talking about the airplane.
Right, of course. Anyway, engine found. Trump's Boeing 757 returns to the skies after 2 years. Simpleflying.com is the headline, is the website for this. Former President Donald Trump's personal Boeing 757 has taken to the skies again after 5 years on the ground. The aircraft took off from storage in upstate New York on Monday, flying to Nashville for a brief stop before continuing to Connecticut International near Lake Charles in Louisiana. It is believed to be undergoing maintenance work there before returning to service. Prior to becoming the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump made good use of a Boeing 757 private jet registered November 757 Alpha Foxtrot for personal transport. But upon taking office, President Trump was required to fly in governmental aircraft, including the VC-25As that are frequently used as Air Force One. For a while, the aircraft continued to undertake flights for Trump's organisation, but in 2019, his 757 was parked in New York's Stewart International Airport. There it remained for the duration of his term, and spotted with one of its engines missing and in need of repair. Word on the street was that the N757AF required a new engine to be found in order to make the trip to Lake Charles for essential maintenance before it could return to active service. Now it seems that the engine has been found, and an aircraft was spotted taking off from Stewart earlier this week. The aircraft took off from New York Stewart SWF at 12:25 ET on Monday. It appeared to be heading towards Connecticut International and had been airborne for just over 2 hours when it appeared to make an unscheduled stop. As the aircraft was passing Nashville to the south, it abruptly turned to the north and began a loop around to head into Nashville International Airport. A snippet from air traffic control suggested that the aircraft had declared an emergency, that Nashville stated, "It looks like we have an emergency inbound." It landed safely at 13:40 CDT, 2 hours and 15 minutes after leaving Stewart. Whatever that emergency was, it was clearly not too severe, as the 757 did not remain in Tennessee for very long. Just over an hour later, N757AF took off again at 14:47 CDT. After an hour and 16 minutes in the air, it touched down at CWF. According to 7K PLC News, airport officials have confirmed that the 757 is there for maintenance. There we go. Do we know what the emergency was? Yeah.
I don't. All I know about this story is that Chenault Lakefront has a $2 crawfish etouffee for aircrew.
Right. Well, there we are.
and if we used to pick Chenault Airport as a cross-country destination because they had $2 crawfish etouffee. So
wow. Do all pilots make these decisions based on the catering facilities that are available to them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Absolutely. Food is number one.
Fair enough.
Gas price is number two.
Right. Okay. Right. But primarily
$4.
Right.
Yeah.
But primarily a decent restaurant is the key here.
Just worth noting back to aviation.
Oh,
that there is a. I know food is horrible, isn't it? There's a really good documentary on this aircraft actually that Discovery produced a few years back, which focuses on the aircraft, not the owner, which is quite good to watch. It is available on YouTube to watch, but it's a great documentary. It covers all the specs and the internals and the maintenance of the aircraft itself, which is quite interesting actually to watch.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
I'll agree. The documentary is interesting.
The documentary is interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Moving on.
So, moving on to the next part of the show, which is the return of our Caption This segment for this week. We missed it last week because we were quite busy, I think, Matt, weren't we, with the show?
Yeah.
And so it's from 2 weeks ago, the picture that we posted on Facebook on the Wednesday for you to comment on, and we'll actually, I think, because Armando is obviously here with us, we'll leave Armando to comment on, for the audio listeners, what this picture is, Armando.
Well, this is a top-of-the-line, cutting-edge helicopter. I can only describe it as what is this, an Isuzu?
Yeah, an Isuzu van, I think, yeah.
It's an Isuzu little six-person
helicopter
van. I do appreciate that they have the side door. The gun door is open. But it is essentially, cutting edge of flying cars. It's
right.
An Isuzu van with
would this work?
Sure.
I mean,
have you seen
potentially-
some of the contraptions that they came up with back in the 1930s and 1940s? Like,
but you see, I mean, I still
worst
maintain that helicopters are, they're not, unlike aircraft that are generated. Helicopters defy physics as far as I'm concerned. I know John will shout in my ear for saying that. As far as I'm concerned, they defy physics and are built at Hogwarts. There's no logic to them at all.
when we used to take the Osprey to Riyadh or Farnborough, any of the air shows, we used to just say it was magic.
Yeah,
How
I
does it
think
fly?
How does it fly? It's just magic. Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, Carlos, so
we had some people leave their witty comments on the photo, and first one is Jan, who says, "Is that the new Mitsubishi or Suzuki heli?" I would put my money on Suzuki, but
indeed, Paul says,
like this one.
"Oh, go on."
I was going to say, I like this one from Paul. This is the prototype for the new VW Westphalia.
Oh, I see. Right, yes. Darry has one for us saying, prototype for a new Medivac from Top Gear Shop. Currently working on one also with floats.
This one from Matt, Amazon deliveries take to the air. That's not a bad idea. Actually. Okay.
Oh, dear. Yes.
Let's see. Ian says, I love the smell of a two-stroke in the morning.
Right, okay.
Have you been behind one of these? Have you ever been behind one of these? They stink, honestly.
Family show.
Right.
Neil says the new Black Hawk Rascal heads to. Oh, I love this one. This is good. Very good on play on words, Neil. The new Black Hawk Rascal heads to RAF Bedford after visiting the Mac Loop. Bedford Rascal.
Yeah, just carry on with that. It's fine.
Anyway, what's Jonathan got for us, Armando?
Only Jonathan would come up with this one. In this week's aviation news, Shorts to test fly their new Skyvan 2. Shorts did a Skyvan. Popular jump platform, actually.
Jenny says, I see the white van man is upping his game.
Oh, absolutely. Amen.
Nothing wrong with white van man.
Bernard says that it's the Sikorsky Caravan.
Oh, welcome back, Matt.
Hello. Sorry.
So I'm going to give you some oxygen.
Yeah, it's fine.
What's Paul
That's
saying?
it. The last one is Paul. Well, it is a Daihatsu Hijet.
Wow.
Oh, that was actually a model as well. Very well.
Yeah.
Well done.
Very crafty.
So don't forget, we will be posting another picture on our Facebook page again on Wednesday for you to comment on. So keep your eyes on there. If you don't already follow us on Facebook, look us up, Plain Talking UK, and give us a little like. If you could, that'd be fantastic. And we look forward to next week's.
Yeah. So yeah,
this next one,
Yeah,
next one is this next video, which is video to play now, and this is some great video that was taken by Nev at the Fairoaks meetup with all the APG listeners there. So Matt, if you're ready, hit the button.
Yeah, okay.
Well, hello, PC UK and APG, although to be fair, they ought to be the other way around, APG being the senior podcast. We're here at Fairoaks, and it is September the 25th, Saturday, and about 11 o'clock. So people are starting to assemble for the meetup, which is fantastic. It's been a bit grey, a bit drizzly here. We were a trifle worried because this is all outdoors. And I was going to say the good thing is that because the cloud base is so low, not many people are flying. But as you can probably hear in the background, some intrepid aviator has set off to... Oh, it's a bloody helicopter. Well, you've got to be even more intrepid to fly one of those, haven't you? He's busy clapping hands, rubbing his tummy, and kicking his legs all at one go. We admire helicopter pilots. They have fantastic coordination. So we're here. We've got a good number of listeners have pitched up. Some famous personalities you will know. Adam Spink from Air Traffic at Heathrow. We've got Captain Nige, ex of Cathay Pacific and the Royal Air Force. We've got a new listener, Simon, who fantastically was a Navy Harrier pilot, and he decided to leave and join TUI, but unfortunately the pandemic put paid to that. So he is now instructing on the simulator, the F-35 simulator at Marham. So lovely to meet him. And hopefully, with any luck, because he's a clever chap, married a nice American lady, he's going to go across to the States and look for a job over there. So if you're looking for our fantastic pilots, Delta or Acme even, then he's your man. In a moment, we're going to set up around the corner and do our plain tale. And hopefully we might even attract some of the lovely general public here to listen to that. And from that, you never know, we might generate some new listeners to the podcast. Anyway, great to see Nev here. Thanks very much indeed, Nev. You'll never get to see him. He's always the other side of the camera lens. Great to see everyone else. We've got people who've come from far and wide, so really nice. The attendance, I hope, will swell as we approach 12 o'clock. In fact, we've got a whole load of mammals just arrived. Middle-aged men in Lycra. I'm sure they're not listeners, but you never know.
But just popped down to London for the weekend, and it was a good opportunity to come over to see Nick in working. Actually, Nick and I sort of used to come from not far away here and met our wives in this direction. So, yeah, it's quite nice to be back in this neck of the woods. Still waiting for something to fly, though, apart from the helicopter. Staying in the UK, I'm not too interested in getting in a little aluminium tube with people that I don't know where they've come from. And so I'm just waiting. Not normally known for my patience, but I'm just waiting for everything to die down a bit. Of course, what I want to do is get back to Indonesia, but no hope of that at the moment. So I'd have to go via Hong Kong and quarantine and what have you. So, and I can't even. The Indonesians won't allow me in anyway. They won't allow you in either. It's not just me. Yeah. So no, not aiming to go anywhere, but sort of keeping in touch with this. Nice to meet some new people and what have you, and have a chuckle at some of the APG people. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, nice day out.
Okay. So I'm talking to Simon at the moment. Hi, Simon.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, very well. Thank you very much indeed for coming down to see us all today.
Pleasure.
Now, you're not exactly local, are you? But there's a little bit of a story.
I'm in Lincolnshire at the moment, but my parents live about 5 minutes from here, and I was down here visiting my father anyway. And it just so happened that the timings worked out perfectly. When Nick talked about the meetup, I realised that I was in the area at the exact time. And so, so here I am.
Oh, how perfect.
Yeah.
Now, give us the story about your sort of previous military flying career. What were you on?
Sure. So I did about 22 years in the Navy. I flew the Harrier, GR7, GR9, not the Sea Harrier. And then I did an exchange tour flying the F-18 with the US Navy. Came back to the UK, and then I left the Navy last year to join the Airlines. And I got into an airline, and I was just about to start. And then unfortunately, as COVID hit, the first people who got released were the people who hadn't even started, and I was one of those guys. So unfortunately, I lost my job before I even started it.
And what's the prospect of restarting that, do you think?
I think it's tricky to see. So international travel is the real key to this at the moment, and I realistically, I think 2022 will be a recovery year. Where the pilots who got made redundant and who have already had their training will be re-recruited. And I think people like me who hadn't even started are probably looking at 23, 24.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So I hope I'm wrong. But I just think what's going to happen is they'll take the pilots who are already type rated, get those guys through before they start for the likes of me.
This industry does have a habit, doesn't it, of going from boom to bust. One minute we've got too many flight deck crew, the next minute we haven't got enough. It'd be nice to sort of even it out at some point.
Yeah, it will be. And I think if you look at the US at the moment, they went for a period where this time last year they were furloughing all their pilots, and now they're really short of pilots. It's a massive hiring spree. And I think that the airlines in Europe are probably coming in for a perfect storm. Because come 23, 24, when that demand comes back again, you're going to have had all these retirements that have already happened. You're not going to have recruited anyone for a while. I think the demand will come back, but I think it's probably a couple of years away.
Yeah.
That's my gut feeling.
I wonder if some pilots, especially some of the senior captains, have taken early retirement as well, and that's actually left more of a hole than the airlines were expecting.
I think there is this perfect storm that's coming up. There's going to be a huge demand for it. The challenge is when is that going to be? And I just, as I said, I think 22 will probably be a recovery year. I don't see much until 23, 24, but I also really hope I'm wrong. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out.
Well, the appetite for flying has never been greater as far as the public's concerned.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And the more crew we can get back operationally, the better. I guess the limiting factor probably is simulator time as well.
Yeah, it's a couple of things. It's simulator time. The other challenge you've got at the moment is line training. So when you become an airline pilot, you typically need to do 20, 25 trips on the line. If the airlines aren't flying very much at all, trying to do line training is really, really challenging, because if you're not flying a full schedule, you can't do the line training. So it's the whole combination of the availability of simulators and the availability of line training. But I do think that it's just, we just need to sort of wait a little bit to see what's happening. But I think it will come back in about a year.
It has to, doesn't it? I think we're all desperate for it.
I think so. I think, you talk to people and they want to go away, they want to go on holiday. I think the demand is there. Some people go like, oh, I don't want to fly. I really think that the demand will come back, and it will come back really strong. And then the challenge will be, like you said, desperately trying to get guys and girls onto the flight deck who are trained and qualified.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see you, Simon. Thanks ever so much for coming down.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Cheers. Well, here we are with Mr. Spink.
Hi, Nev. How are you?
Morning to you. Yes.
Good morning.
Excellent. Thanks very much for coming down. First of all.
It's good. I've never been here. So this is an excuse to see what Fairoaks has to offer.
Yeah, and the cloud base is lifting a little bit, so there's a sign of people committing aviation, which is a good thing, isn't it? So how's work going at the moment? What's happening there?
Yeah, it's picking up. I think last weekend we were up to about 750 flights a day, so just over half of what our normal pre-COVID traffic levels were. But most of the listeners might be aware I'm mainly office-based, so I'm still doing 4 or 5 days a month in the tower talking to aeroplanes, but very busy in the office, trying to take the opportunity of the reduced traffic levels to try and introduce new equipment. Slightly more straightforward doing that when it's a bit quieter.
Yeah. Has it been challenging operating at a lower level, and by that I mean less traffic? Is that actually quite difficult?
Yes, it can be. Certainly before COVID at Heathrow, the traffic was very busy all the time. So that's what we were used to. As soon as the traffic died off, from a human factors point of view, under arousal is a problem. That's what she said. So when your brain is used to operating at that very high level all the time, as soon as that dies off, you need to be very careful that you're still doing all the basic stuff that you would do. I mean, I was up there middle of last year. I'd maybe only talked to 1 or 2 aeroplanes an hour in an hour's session of sat in position, whereas before then I'd speak to 40, 50, 60 aircraft. So it's very easy to get distracted by other things or just chatting to people because you have time to chat now. So it's something we're very aware of, and again, now that we're used to the quiet, when the traffic starts to build up, we need to try and rebuild those skills that have atrophied over the months.
Yeah. And are they back up to using both runways now?
Yes, we're using both runways. We have been for a few months now. I think it was late July, early August when we reopened or went to a dual runway operation. But a lot of the time we still only have one controller working both runways, whereas before COVID we'd have one runway would be controlled by one controller.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, that's great, Adam. Thank you very much indeed for coming down and for having a chat. And you.
No problem.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.
So, Neil, great to see you again.
Very good to see you again, Ev.
Thanks very much indeed for coming. So it's quite a journey for you, isn't it?
It's a couple of hours,
Yeah.
You have to brave the M25, but nobody glued themselves to it today, so
That's right.
we're doing all right.
No incidents.
No.
What about the stuff that you were doing at Bruntingthorpe? What's the score there?
Well, unfortunately, that's all come to a close now. Most of the aircraft storage area was sold off. It was more than likely just cars now. A few things stayed, a lot of things left. Sadly for us, the guppy was chopped. Part of it is still in St Athan now, so you will be able to go and see that if you want to. Very bittersweet for us, to be honest. A lot of good times in there over the years. At least there's still some around. You can still see some. And NASA will probably be keeping theirs going for years and years. So that's still there for everybody as well.
And what about flying for you? Have you been anywhere at all this year?
I have not been inside a plane for as long as I can remember. Too long. Yeah, I'm itching to get back somewhere. Need to get the passport renewed again. We've had a big standby, haven't we, for a long while now. So probably next year. I think we'll be back to Lanzarote next year, I think. So it'll be nice. Looking forward to it.
Hi, Graham. Good to see you.
It's nice to see you again, though. It's certainly been 18 months or so.
It has,
not
hasn't
a bit
it?
Longer.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we even...
PT UK Heathrow, I guess.
It probably was, wasn't it?
Ago.
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you back in employment now?
I am. I technically never left. I just moved locations somewhat, so now at a fairly small airport in Hampshire, rather than at Heathrow.
Oh, great.
Bit different, valid as a tower controller at last, so that's been
that's superb,
4 years coming in the end, but certainly nice to have it out of the way.
Yeah, and was that journey pretty challenging at times, would you say?
A little bit. Mostly, well, certainly at Heathrow, it was definitely challenging. And then just trying to stay positive for the 6 months where I wasn't sure what was happening was difficult, but yeah, it was nice to start somewhere fresh and get on with things fairly quickly. It's been a bit difficult getting enough traffic to keep training with, but we managed just about. And
obviously it couldn't be more different, where you are now compared to where you were.
It's fairly different, yeah.
How different is that, going from a full-on big operation at Heathrow to where you are now?
Very different, but if anything that made the transition quite easy, because you accept that what experience you have doesn't match up with what you're about to do. So it's very easy just to go, right, I'm just going to forget everything I know and listen to what people are saying, and we'll go with that. But actually, there's quite a lot of similarity. It's aeroplanes in the sky at the end of the day. They tend to move forwards, not always, especially with what I work with now.
Just trying to keep them apart?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ideally, if you can see both, and you can see they're not going to hit each other.
And are you seeing an increase in traffic now as well?
So COVID hasn't actually affected us with the unique way the operation works with where I am. I won't say where it is, but I'm sure people can take some guess that it's probably not civilian. So COVID hasn't had much effect. It's just been aircraft serviceability and upgrades that we're lacking in serviceable aircraft at the minute, or aircraft in general. And challenges all over the globe, I think, with serviceable aircraft. As soon as they fix one in the hangar, it tends to disappear somewhere else. And most people probably know Grob tutors have had issues recently, so they were out of action for 6 months, I think, pretty much, while they were being fixed away. So now we've got those back. There's quite a
for
big
you,
uplift
having
in
now
traffic.
qualified in the position you're in, is that a continuous learning process for you? Is there
Always.
constant
re-examination? Every day you'll find a different situation. And yeah, we've got an annual assessment as well as quarterly updates, and then I still need to train on radar at some point, which is probably a year or so away anyway, but I'm sure we'll get there at some point.
Yeah, and are you enjoying it? That's the main
Yes,
thing.
very much so. It was nice to have a fresh start and just get on and finally achieve validation, which was what I'd been after for, it was 4 years in the end, so it's certainly a while coming.
It's quite a journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm so delighted for you as well, really
Thank
pleased
you.
for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming down today.
It's quite all right, it's not too far. It certainly used to be a local haunt. Breakfast's good, so always enjoyable to come back.
Good to see you, thanks.
Cheers.
And there we go.
Looks like they had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was what is that called? A meet up?
Yeah, do you remember those? Do you remember when those? Do you remember when those
Meet
used
up?
to happen? Do you remember when we used to do those things quite regularly, at least once or twice a year? Do you remember? Like, where we all just gather at Duxford just for,
like people
just
gathering?
for a laugh. Yeah, absolutely.
I must admit, look at the camera angle there that Nev had at one point. There was a lot of mugs of coffee and tea
Oh,
on
yeah,
those, on
quite
those
right.
tables there. Yeah,
Quite right. Absolutely.
Quite
Scotch.
civilized.
No
Very
scotch.
civilized.
That was on Nick's table, the scotch.
Of course, absolutely. We're running out of time, so we
Anyway,
need to...
over to you to introduce the next part of the
breakfast is
show,
good. That must be
Armando.
excellent.
All right. This
says
is going to be the
Micah.
second time that we mentioned the mock loop. We're going to do this a super fast, low level through the military. Matt, if you're ready, hit the button. right. At this point, we should probably explain Carlos's lack of knowledge of Wily Coyote, not Willy Coyote. This is a pretty cool story. Matt's going to pop up some pictures. Yeah, Carlos is like, I'm out. Pretty cool pictures that Matt's going to pop up if you're watching the YouTube feed. This is from flightglobal.com. Lockheed Martin-owned PZL and U.S. firm Sierra Nevada, or SNC, have unveiled the first prototype of the special operations variant of the Polish airframer's M28 twin turboprop. So the M28, they're calling it the SOMA, Special Operations Multi-Role Aircraft, gains 4 underwing weapon stores, new sensors, and modifications to allow the installation of reloadable launch tubes. Marketed in the U.S. as a MC-145 Coyote, the aircraft is being pitched to the U.S. Special Operations Command for its Armed Overwatch program. Now, these efforts are seeking to replace the SOCOM fleet of U-28 Dracos, which are modified Pilatus PC-12 single-engine turboprops used for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions. Now, this effort is about 50 to 75 new aircraft. They would be used for close air support, precision strikes, special operations, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance in austere and permissive environments. Permissive environments being the country knows that we're there. The other ones, the country doesn't know that we're there. Transformation of the standard M28 Skytruck transport into the MC-145 required only small airframe modifications, including a localized strengthening of the wings alongside installation of the weapons pylons. PZL says that the changes would also be implemented to in-service aircraft. Now, SNC, Sierra Nevada, is aiming to secure certification for this MC-145 in mid-2022, believing that if it is selected for this armed overwatch requirement, it could deliver the first aircraft for operational use in the 2023-24 fiscal year timeframe. The aircraft would be manufactured at PZL's facility in Poland, then shipped to the U.S. for customization and delivery by SNC to the government. Now, the MC-145 can carry up to 1,000 pounds of munitions, including guided missiles, rockets, GBU-39 small-diameter bombs. Sensors would include radars, electronic attack, and anti-improvised explosive device payloads. Inside the aircraft are 4 reloadable, what is called common launch tubes, which Matt is going to show a picture of here in a second. They enable the launch of weapons such as the GBU-69 small glide munition and Griffin missiles, or even small unmanned aerial vehicles from these launch tubes. These aircraft are also provisioned for 4 additional launch tubes if ordered in that configuration. Other changes to the MC-145 include countermeasures, glass cockpit, data links, dual-mode landing lights, an MX-15 electro-optical infrared sensor or a police camera housed in the aircraft's extended nose. And then, of course, they can add additional sensors as needed. There you go. So the same aircraft has already performed some demonstration flights in support of the program at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. Very capable multi-role aircraft. I think it's like a mini Casa, if you can think of that, or a mini Otter. If you take an Otter and if a twin Otter and a Cessna 152 were to have a baby, it would look like an MC-145.
Neil's actually saying in the chat room there, looks like it could have a large market in less developed countries.
Absolutely. Easy to fly, easy to maintain, doesn't require much footprint or much maintenance. And yeah, absolutely. That's probably one of the driving factors. So a very good observation. Let's see. The second story that we're going to talk about is the G20 Summit, which was in the news this week. This is from the aviationist.com. Of course, as you can imagine, the G20 Summit was being held among some tight security, including several assets. Several is an understatement. Enforcing the Air Defense Identification Zone, or the ADIZ. Many assets of the Aeronautica Militare are currently involved in a large operation required to ensure the security of the G20 Summit hosted in Italy. This was October 30th and 31st in Rome. Of course, several heads of state and prime ministers were there. But just to give you an idea of the aircraft that arrived in Rome for the summit itself, besides Air Force One and the accompanying SAM-46, which was a C-32, or Matt's favorite 757, the state flights included, among all others, a Korean 747, an Indian 777, German Air Force 319, the Spanish A310, a Russian IL-96, a Turkish A330, an Argentinian A330, and a Royal Australian Air Force KC-30. So those are just the jets that the government officials showed up in. In addition to this, all the restrictions on flight activities were established beginning October 28th and ended at midnight on November 1st. So first of all, an ADIZ was, this Air Defense Identification Zone was established within a radius of 75 miles from Rome. That means that all that traffic that intended on operating inside that area at any level had to file a flight plan, and at least 2 hours earlier and operate with a transponder code. Now, within 35 miles of Rome, VFR traffic was completely denied from the ground up to flight level 175. And within 6.5 nautical miles of the center of Rome, all traffic was completely denied except for approved IFR flights from Fiumicino and Ciampino. Now, any violations of these flight restrictions were reacted to by the Air Defense Forces. To that respect, the contingent put into place by the Italian Air Force included two types of interceptors for medium and fast aircraft, Eurofighter Typhoons from Grosseto were put into place. And additionally, they were being supported by KC-767, some KC-130J tankers. And from the east of Rome, there were also some F-2000As that were supporting this, and they could be dispatched to intercept any unknown or renegade aircraft much faster than the quick reaction alert fighter scrambled from its airbase. Now, for the slow movers, that's any rogue Cessna 150. Poor Cessna 150. I think we're just picking on it today. The assets in these combat air patrols at low level were actually some HH-139 helicopters in a slow mover intercept configuration, SMI configuration. The Italian Air Force helicopters have been the only ones to fly over Rome alongside the ones from the Polizia or the Guardia di Finanza or the Carabinieri or the HMES, the Helicopter Emergency Medical Service. Dealing with airborne early warning and the information operations or information superiority mission, as they call it, they had a Gulfstream 550 airborne early warning aircraft from the Pratica di Mare. They were providing air surveillance, command and control in cooperation with the air defense radars. An MQ-9 Predator was also dispatched and consistently monitoring the area where the summit was held. And of course, the sensors of the P-72 were also pointed in that direction. Now, belonging from the 41st Stormo from Sigonella, I've been to Sigonella many times. The P-72 is a military variant of the ATR 72-600 that can undertake multiple roles. Even though it was born as a maritime patrol aircraft, this aircraft is actually equipped with electronic support measures and sensors, along with a communication suite that enable this aircraft to essentially collect data and the signals and transmit all that real time to and from command and control centers on the ground. So there you go. As you can imagine, a G20 summit or a G8 summit or any of these summits require quite the security force, and I am not sure how much other nations contribute, but this was a lot of Italian taxpayer money that had to go into securing the area around Rome. Additionally, I'm sure there were some partner nation assets, but obviously the Italians took the lead on this. So very cool. If you're a plane watcher, plane spotter, I'm sure you had a great time in Rome.
Nick Codling says in the chat, he reckons the Kuwaiti 737 had a tail strike when leaving Glasgow today.
Oh, there you go. That's not
and
good.
Neil Lamworn is saying, excellent linguistics, Armando.
I practiced all night.
There we go.
I bet he did. Yeah.
So we go from Wily Coyote and some typhoons. Let's talk about elephants. Carlos, you got this elephant.
Yeah, this is good. This is I remember these when they were based at RF Bentwaters here in the UK, because I was only there a few weeks ago. And every A-10 Thunderbolt 2 of the Maryland Air National Guard took part in an elephant walk at Warfield Air National Guard Base. So 16 A-10 Warthogs, this comes to us from the aviationist.com, took part in a mission generation exercise and staged a nice elephant walk. These events are becoming increasingly frequent at air bases in the US and all around the world to test the squadron's ability to launch large formations of aircraft at short notice. If you search in the archive, you'll find many articles with photographs of aircraft taking part in this kind of drill, where all types of combat planes, including tankers or mixed formations, taxi all together, more or less, in the same way that they would do in the case of a minimum interval takeoff. And then, depending on the purpose of the training event, they either take off or return back to their parking slots. In the military aviation community, this process is known as an elephant walk, a term that originated among the US Air Forces during World War II, when hundreds of aircraft would taxi in single-file lines that resembled elephants walking to a watering hole. Actually, most of the times, these walks are staged just to get some nice shots. Jonathan Warner, where are you? And this is perfectly fine because the photographs generate much more interest, as the exercise goal is obviously not to taxi along the runway in close formation, but to assess the abilities to launch aircraft, as many as possible, in the shortest time possible. The latest in this long series of missions readiness drills took place on November the 3rd and involved the Maryland Air National Guard that carried out a mission generation exercise at Warfield Air National Guard Base in Middle River, Maryland, that involved 16 A-10C Thunderbolt II aircraft. That is to say, every Warthog, as the A-10 is nicknamed, assigned to the 104th Fighter Squadron. Seeing the entire fleet on the runway is just an awesome display of combat power, said U.S. Air Force Colonel Richard D. Hunt, Vice Commander of the 175th Wing, in a public release. Our maintainers are some of the best in the Air Force, and this is concrete proof of our ability to bring the full force of our air power to bear whenever it is needed. He said that our ability to generate combat air power at a moment's notice helps promote regional stability because we can immediately respond to any threat, said the U.S. Air Force's Brigadier General Paul D. Johnson, commander of the 175th Wing. The 175th Wing is always ready to answer our nation's call, he said, and defend our country from our adversaries. We know they are watching, so it's good for them to know we can bring the fight at any time. I'm proud of our airmen, he said. Their ability to generate and employ with the highest level of excellent and contested environment and with complete operational security. Well, he's very proud of his aircraft and his troops. But no, these I can still remember these flying here in the UK, Armando, many years ago from Bentwaters. There was quite a number of these here based in the UK.
Yeah, and the A-10 definitely has a distinct sound, but I would echo the sentiments of these Air Force leaders. It is at any given point in your arsenal and your operations, you have a certain amount of aircraft that are down for maintenance, sometimes major maintenance, and to get all of these aircraft airborne at the same time is pretty impressive. And, the pilots actually have the easy job. They just climb into the airplane and taxi it and take off and go fly around the pattern for a little bit. The real heroes of any of these operations, whether it's exercises or elephant walks or something like this, it's the maintainers, it's the maintenance teams that are out there. Each aircraft, rough guess, has 5 to 7 aircraft maintainers, or engineers as you guys call them, that are working hard to keep that aircraft airborne and airworthy. And that's just assigned to that aircraft. There may be additional back shop maintenance that, your avionics guys, your hydraulics guys, your fuels guys, logistics, air traffic controllers had to be on point for this. So it takes the entire base, multiple organizations to make something like this happen. And it's always good from a command standpoint to exercise the capabilities, your fullest capabilities, in order to highlight some potential vulnerabilities or weaknesses. So it's not just for show. I know they said it's just for show, but there is a purpose in spending taxpayer money to generate all of the aircraft. As you can imagine, if there was to be a large scale conflict, that it would be all hands on deck, including all the assets. So,
and it makes for excellent photos as well.
It does make for great pictures. Yeah. Dirk in the chat room says, that's one elephant you don't want to mess with.
No, true that. True that, absolutely.
Well, Have we
We
got
made
everything
it.
out? We've made it.
3 minutes to spare.
Yeah,
Well.
we've done really well. Social
What happened?
media links. Armando, what's the social media links everyone needs to find?
Well, you can essentially just use the internet to search for Plain Talking UK. But if you want to be a little bit more specific than that, we have Facebook, Plain Talking UK. You can go over to our Twitter. We have. Do we have Instagram? We don't have Instagram.
We do.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
we do.
I don't really use it too much, do we?
They're all under Plain Talking UK.
Yeah, Plain Talking UK. That's the name of the show. If you're listening to this, you probably know that already. We always like to hear from you. If you want to reach out to us directly, you can shoot us a message or a picture. If you've got any interesting stories, suggestions, to our WhatsApp number. That's +44 757 22 491 66. If you want to email us, it's podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, or just go to the website, plaintalkinguk.com. Of course, if you're here and you're watching us on YouTube, feel free to subscribe. As we like to say, like and subscribe. You'll get notifications when we go live. You can shape the conversation by joining us in this awesome chat room, which is also serves the purpose of keeping us accurate. It's always great to have those people in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes the chat room does go rogue and they start talking about things that
usually food related, to be fair.
Have nothing to do with the show, and then I'll join them.
Yeah. You're usually the one instigating it, to be fair. Let's be honest, Armando.
Let's not forget
don't forget, if you want to, we've got our 400th episode.
Well done, Matt.
If you want to come and join us, we were talking about meetups earlier on and how amazing that was over at
Fairoaks.
Fairoaks. I nearly said Fairford. That was somewhere else. And these are the details. What are they? If they'd like to come and join us, what do they need to do if they want to come and join us for the 400th?
So if you haven't already sent us an email and you want to join us on the 400th episode, which we're doing next year at Brooklands Museum on the 26th of February, that is a Saturday, 26th of February. If you haven't emailed us, you must email us as soon as you can to let us know you're coming, because we need to know of numbers. We've had a lot of interest in this, a lot of interest. It's podcast@plaintalkinguk.com is the email address to send it to. If you want to stay, we're going to be staying there on the Friday and Saturday night. If you want to stay at the hotel, which is right next door to the museum, we do have a very good little rate with a code. You can click on the code and put a code in and get a good room rate, including a breakfast as well, which is also important. So email the show. Let us know you want to come. If you're listening to the audio podcast, send us an email in, because we'd love you to join us for the 400th on the 26th of February next year at the Brooklands Museum.
If you've, it's just been pointed out by our chat room that you may have entered the code and gotten a higher price than actually quoted. If you've done that, that's by design. We're trying to pad the coffers by charging an extra 10% for attendance to the show.
Okay.
No, we're just kidding. We'll double check that with the hotel and make sure that we get the correct information to everyone.
Yeah, the link that's sent out, you must click on the link that we send out for the booking. That link will take you to a standalone booking page for the hotel that coincides with the code for the room.
Yeah.
It does work, trust me, because I've booked it, so it does work. But you need that link that will be sent out to you if you want to book a room there at the hotel.
There we go.
So there we go. That is episode number 390 in the can. I had to refresh myself then. 10 away from 400. We're nearly there. So that's it then, guys and girls. Thanks everyone for joining us and staying with us in the chat room. Thanks to all our audio downloaders as well. So big thanks to Armando for all his hard work today on the show. Big thanks to Matt as well for all his hard work in the studio. And a big thank you as well to John, who's the voice in our ears, for putting all the show notes together, as always, this week. And we miss you, Nev. We'll see you next week, Nev. He'll be back. Don't panic. So that's it from all of us here in the PTUK studios. Don't forget daylight savings.
Yeah, we've gone back. The clocks have moved, is what he's saying.
Oh,
so
not
UTC
here in the US.
Yeah, UTC and GMT are now the same, essentially. I think is what.
Gin and tea. That's all I heard.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
Anyway, join us next Friday for episode 391 of the show. And Armando, last words from you.
Thanks everybody in the chat room. Thanks for everybody that supports the show. Thanks for hanging in there. See you next week. Ta-da.
Bye-bye. Bye.